here. And it's an opportunity that anybody who's gone back there says it's a marvelous experience, an extraordinary experience, both going back there and seeing the monuments, realizing what they represent, and bonding with the other members of the individual honor flights. So it's something which hopefully everybody here will take advantage of. And we're going to have Danny Tomlinson, who's on the staff of the Rocky Mountain Honor Flight, give an overview about what the program is about and do some cheerleading, I'm sure, Danny.
Thank you very much. I'm going to start the slideshow here, and he said I'm on the staff. That would imply that I get paid. No, I'm on the board as a volunteer. We have no paid staff, and we take a lot of pride in that. Well, thank you all for being here and allowing us the opportunity to be here. My name is Danny Tomlinson. I'm a proud U.S. Navy veteran. I served as the damage control officer on the USS Kilauea AE-26, an ammunition supply ship. During the Vietnam War, I was deployed for about 27 deployments. And our mission in life as an ammunition supply ship found primarily bombs to the carriers so the F-4s could do the bombing runs, and 5-inch and 8-inch shells to the destroyers and cruisers. We'd stay out on station anywhere from 2 to 10 miles off the coast of Vietnam for up to 8 weeks at a time, and go back to Subic Bay for 3 days, rearm, and come back out. And we were actually there from 69 to 72, and I got to drink, eat, bathe in Agent Orange. And so if I can't see you, it's because of this eye. I just had surgery a couple days ago for Agent Orange. I'm sorry? Turn it off. Oh, this isn't gonna, yeah, okay. We got it. Okay, thank you. Several years ago, I heard about the Rocky Mountain Honor Flight, and I put in my application, and then along came COVID, and I got called, I think for the very first flight after COVID, after the lockdown, and to go on the honor flight to DC as a veteran. I was so impressed with the honor flight, with the Rocky Mountain Honor Flight organization, the people that were involved, the whole mission of the Rocky Mountain Honor Flight, that I immediately, when we got back 2 days later, I applied to go as a guardian. A guardian is a nice term for somebody that pushes wheelchairs, handles baggage, kind of comforts fellow veterans, especially at the Vietnam Wall. Sometimes that's an extremely difficult and emotional time for veterans. And I've spent a lot of time just standing there, hugging, let the man cry, and walking with him down to where his squad mates or whoever might be memorialized on the Vietnam Wall. It's an extremely rewarding endeavor. We do pay as guardians our own way, and I want to introduce Andy and Terry Garner, father and son, who are also on the board of the Rocky Mountain Honor Flight with me and also serve as guardians. Terry on my right and Andy on my left. And I know a number of you this morning have asked me questions, and I've said, go see the guy in the blue shirt. That's how we keep track of who the veterans are and who the guardians are, because when we stop at these various different stops at the memorials or the monuments in DC, the red shirts, like Bill has on, we've got 30 red shirts, 30 veterans, and they scatter like chickens everywhere. And we can't keep track of them. And so we start rounding them up when we get ready to leave and go to the next monument. And the blue shirts, we're the ones that round them up. As soon as we get 30 red shirts on the bus leaves. May only have half of the blue shirts, but generally most of us are on there. But in any event, we're guardians. We pay our own way, and we serve as volunteers. The Rocky Mountain Honor Flight is a tax exempt 501c3 organization. We're part of a hub. We're one of the hubs. There are about 130 hubs across the country, and our mission is to take veterans to Washington, D.C. for a very memorable trip to see all of the various monuments and memorials that are dedicated to our country's veterans. This last trip, we just got back last Saturday, we had a man who actually is going to turn 97 years old, I think on Tuesday of this coming week, that was in both the World War II as well as the Korean War. We also had 4 additional Korean War vets, and the other 25 were Vietnam vets. And the veterans fly at no cost. There's absolutely no cost associated with anything unless the veteran buys a souvenir or something of that nature, or slips into the bar and gets a beer and none of the guardians are watching. It doesn't mean we don't like him to drink beer. It just means that we're going to probably pick up the tab for his beer. But it's our honor to serve as guardians. And again, I can't emphasize this strongly enough. The veterans, there's no charge to the veterans at all. These slides that you see behind me, kind of scrolling through, show the event from out at DIA on Thursday morning before we leave, kind of gathering up. Blue shirts again will be the guardians, the red shirts will be the veterans. We work with the same TSA folks and Denver police folks. We have our own private train out to Concourse C. Southwest Airlines allows us to board early. We're the first ones on the plane and take the first 10 rows of the plane every time. We also are the last ones off the plane when we get to Baltimore. We had a water cannon salute at both DIA as well as BWI airports last week. And we get to the same hotel. They have taken great care of us. It's the Sheraton Doubletree at BWI. And they take great care of us. The first day is really spent traveling. We get to the hotel, get checked in, gather in the bar. Then we normally, we always have a banquet that night with all of the guardians as well as the veterans. Each trip, we take a trip in April, May, September, and October of each year. So we're not out there in the heat of the summer or the cold of the winter, the cold snow and ice of the winter. And we take 30 veterans on each trip. We have 24, 25 guardians, always have 3 or 4 nurses. Occasionally, about every other trip, we have a doctor with us. And we can deal with wheelchair issues, with oxygen issues. We have some vets that are on constant oxygen, some need it at night, whatever, we help them out in that way. Our goal as guardians is really to make this an enjoyable, healing experience for the veterans. We don't want the veterans to spend money. We want them to enjoy the trip, to have fond memories of the trip when they return. There are a lot of the veterans that we see that are hesitant or somewhat reluctant to take the trip because of bad memories that they have from 50 years ago. Thursday morning, the silence, or the noise level, I should say, at the gate out at DIA when the veterans are just getting there, just kind of getting to know each other, is somewhere down here. On Saturday afternoon at the BWI airport, the noise level is through the roof because each of these veterans, men and women, have 50 brand new best friends that have shared the same experiences, the same, they have the same background. They're veterans. They left home as a young person. They left their families, their loved ones. They went off to serve their country. some very voluntarily, some reluctantly, some got drafted despite their best efforts to avoid the draft. But nonetheless, each of these men and women served their country, and they have that shared experience of having served in the military and gone through military life with lots of uncertainties about what's going to happen next. This might be the day that I check it out. Or they may have sat behind a computer in Omaha for their entire 2 years of draft service. But they've all shared that experience of being a U.S. veteran. Our trips are organized in such a way that, as I said, Thursday is mainly a travel day. Friday morning, we get up, go down to the World War II Memorial, which has only been in existence about 20 years now. And we go to the Colorado Pillar, and you'll see some of the pictures come by with some of the guys holding flags in front of the Colorado Pillar at the World War II Memorial. We go from there down to the U.S. Navy Memorial and Museum. And there's a big reflecting pool out there with waters from all 7 seas of the world. And this last week when we were there, we were so blessed and so honored to be able to actually have lunch in the Chief's Mess, which those of you that were in the Navy, especially those of you that were chief, senior chief, or master chief petty officers, know that the Chief's Mess is kind of hallowed ground that people are not allowed to enter into, but we were able to have our lunch in the Chief's Mess at the U.S. Navy Memorial and Museum. We then go over generally to the Korean War Memorial, Lincoln Memorial, and the Vietnam Wall. We always help the veterans if they have a fellow or a veteran that they served with that died, whose name is on the wall. We assist them in finding the right panel, the right line, and then let them do a rubbing of that person's name. There are a few women that whose names are on the wall. I think there were fewer than 15 women that were killed in Vietnam, but these are the killed and missing in action veterans from the Vietnam War, all 58,000 plus of them. We then will, depending on time frames and how much time we've spent at the Vietnam Wall, we sometimes will be able to go to the FDR Memorial, which shows Franklin Delano Roosevelt's 4 terms as President of the United States and different stages through the Great Depression and so forth. We go back, and on Friday night, we have a big banquet. We honor the vets. We take lots of pictures. One of the guardians is a retired Marine. He's not a Marine colonel. He's a colonel of Marines. Mike Lau, he graduated from the Naval Academy in 1970, spent 29 years in the Marine Corps and retired as a colonel several years ago. He's also on the board. He's always there in his dress blues and kind of MCs the program. We give special attention to the missing man or fallen comrade table. And we honor each of the teams, the red, white, blue, green, gold, and black teams that we divide the veterans up into. Primarily, again, to keep track of them so that we don't lose a veteran. The worst thing you can do is lose a veteran on one of these trips. We strive mightily not to do that. And it doesn't always, we're sometimes not quite successful as we'd like to be. On Saturday morning, we get up, leave the hotel early, about 7:15. We are on the road because we're about an hour from Arlington National Cemetery. And we go to Arlington National Cemetery, usually are the very first bus allowed into the cemetery for the 9 a.m. or 0900 changing of the guard at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldiers. And we always pull up right in front of the amphitheater, and they drop the chains for us, and we take the wheelchairs and veterans around the corner were closer than me to that table from both the tomb guard as well as from the Tomb of the Unknowns. And we are blessed to see the changing of the guard. Those of you that have been on the trip know about the silent salute that either the tomb guard or the sergeant of the guard or both will give, and that is when they turn to their left or right face, they'll kind of drag or scuff their shoe before they slap it out. That's a silent salute to the honor guard or the honor flight that is there on that particular day. And last October, I believe it was on that trip, the sergeant of the guard came out. He was as close to me as that tripod, staring through those mirrored sunglasses, staring right at me. And he turned, and he didn't scuff his shoe, he dragged it. And it was like somebody flipped a switch in the back of my head. The tears started rolling. I turned around, Colonel Lau was crying, Mary was crying, Lynn was crying. It's an emotional moment. But we watched the change in the guard. We have begun the process of applying for and receiving permission to place a wreath at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier after the changing of the guard ceremony. And in fact, on our May trip, which will be May 8, 9, and 10, I'm honored to be the lead guardian for the 4-person detail. I'll be representing the Navy, and we'll have an Army, Air Force, and a Marine veteran representing the other 3 branches that actually place a wreath at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. That'll be on Saturday morning, May 10th. And what a once-in-a-lifetime honor, and I'm blessed beyond belief. We leave Arlington, and let me mention very quickly, this past Saturday, we were at Arlington. One of the vets on the trip, Mike Tarby, and Bill was on the trip, and who else from? Yeah, anyway, we were able to, Mike's wife, he was awarded a Silver Star for the Tet Offensive, and therefore qualified to be buried at Arlington. And he and his wife had made arrangements, and unfortunately she got pancreatic cancer and died several years ago. And so she's buried at Arlington National Cemetery, and he will be when he passes. And we got special permission to drive the bus down to the section of the cemetery where she is buried. And he was able to get out of the bus with a couple of the guardians. I think Andy and Terry maybe were both helping him. And he placed a couple of roses at her grave marker. And it'll be one of the pictures that comes up here on the slides. But in any event, Arlington is such a special place. We go from there over to the U.S. Marine Memorial, which is the Iwo Jima Memorial, and you'll see pictures here. We try to take a group picture of all the vets, and then as many of the guardians and vets as we can kind of get gathered together at the same time. And we go from there up to the Sheraton Pentagon City and have lunch up in the dining room up on the very top level, the penthouse with floor-to-ceiling glass, look out at the Air Force Memorial, the Pentagon, and then get on the bus and come back to Denver. And the trip back to Denver is always emotional. There's a couple of surprises that those of you who have been on the flight cannot share with the other guys, please. But in any event, we try to make it a 3-day event that is memorable, meaningful, respectful, emotional, and really kind of helps with the healing. I think to a person, every Vietnam vet, as we get off the airplane in Denver on Saturday night, the people in the concourses, the fellow passengers on the airplane are clapping, cheering, welcome home. We're so glad to have you back. Every one of these veterans say to me, this is different than it was 50 years ago. And it truly is. It's a healing experience. And if you have not applied to go as a veteran, I would strongly urge that you do that as quickly as possible. Right now, we're only, primarily because of finances, we can only take 4 trips a year, 30 veterans per trip, so that's 120 over the course of the year. But our wait list right now is about a year and a half, give or take. And so many of you, I know, as we were setting up this morning, had asked me about where you might be on the list and that sort of thing. It depends. Our priority is always to take World War II veterans first, simply because they're all well into their 90s, then Korean War veterans, and then Vietnam War veterans. And the Vietnam War veterans are going to be prioritized by their date of application. We took a young man from the Afghanistan War a couple of years ago that had been diagnosed with brain cancer and wasn't expected to live much more than 6 months to a year. He actually is doing well. He was out at the airport last Saturday night. I was able to visit with him for a little bit. But it's a tremendous experience. Again, no cost to the veteran. It's not a vacation at all. Sometimes we run it more like a bunch of drill instructors at boot camp. You got to be here, you got to be there. This is the time. Be careful watching your watch on what time to be back to the bus, that sort of thing. But we try to pack in a really great trip for our veterans. We almost always have 2 or 3 or 4 lady veterans, and we're honored to have them join us. And it's just, it's a wonderful program. I would urge you strongly. I'm going to create, or Andy's already created a QR code, which we'll put up on the screen here in a minute as well. I will be sending it to Doug to put in the newsletter. And the QR code will take you directly to the Rocky Mountain Honor Flight page where you can apply to be either a veteran, honored veteran on the flight, or to serve as a guardian. And Andy, do you have some words? Terry.
I do. Just really quickly, there, as Danny mentioned, there's 140 hubs across the country. Everybody can hear you. Everybody hear me all right? Yeah. I'm a scoutmaster, so I talk loud. There's 140 hubs across the country. 3 of those are in Colorado. So if you simply type Honor Flight into Google, God knows where you're going to go. All right? Rocky Mountain Honor Flight is the place to go. RockyMountainHonorFlight.org if you want to sign up. The Northern Colorado branch does a good job. They're a 1-day trip. They charter a plane. They fly out. They see everything on the bus. They fly back. Long day. We kind of pride ourselves in our smaller, more intimate trips. And Danny can speak to that a little more. RockyMountainHonorFlight.org is the important part to remember.
We almost always see 2 or 3 or 4 other honor flights, and they may have chartered the entire plane, have 200 vets, but they drive past the World War II memorial, for instance, and the bus driver says, "This is the World War II memorial coming up on your right." There it was. Did you all see it? And there's no opportunity to get out and walk around and actually enjoy it. We try to make it a really special experience. Terry, did you have any?
First of all, I want to say to each and every one of you, welcome home. I'm honored to be. Other than that, it's pretty well covered. I would just encourage each of you to look into going on a flight with us. It's a pleasure and an honor to have you with us. That's all I can say. Thank you very much.
And this is the World War II memorial, the Colorado Pillar. with these slides that have been going through here. I think I went as a veteran, and then I think this last week's trip was my 8th trip as a guardian, and I've just pulled out about 300 photos from those 8 or 9 trips and put them into a slideshow. And this just kind of gives you an idea of what you're going to see, kind of what it's like. When we land at Baltimore, the town crier is there in his colonial uniform, his tricorn hat and his, whatever they call those, leggings and little jackets kind of thing. And he's ringing the bell. Hear ye, hear ye. We have a plane load of heroes coming through. And walks us clear through the airport, clear over to where we catch the bus. The water cannons from the fire departments, both at DIA and at BWI, are out there with fire trucks on either side. And to see the reactions, when we landed at BWI last week, the West Point rugby team was there, about 45 young men, clapping and cheering for us. They quit cheering when I yelled out, "Go Navy, beat Army." But other than that, I thought it was great. These are such wonderful trips. They really are emotional and so meaningful. Here's a World War II vet. If you look here, line 6, my standard will remain perfection. That's the Tomb Guard's honor or creed. And if you ever have the honor to meet a Tomb Guard, if you see 2 of them, their greeting to each other is not, "Hey, how are you?" It's line 6. That's all they say. Line 6. My standard will always be perfection. That's the way they are. That Tomb Guard badge, there have been about 600 Tomb Guards since 1937. And that's the most unique, least awarded recognition of any military award. We always stop at Audie Murphy's grave. You may have seen the tombstone, Medal of Honor, Purple Heart, Legion of Honor, oak leaf clusters. Anyway, now, I know that some of you had some questions, and please. Yes, sir.
Spouses, can they go?
Do you have a microphone here?
Spouses, your wife,
Oh, spouses, yeah. We can't take spouses for several reasons, primarily financial situations, but also because of the bus size, 55, whatever. And it's really not intended to be a family vacation, if you will. I don't want to be crude about that, but it really is for the veteran. We have a couple of instances. In fact, this last trip, we had a husband and wife that were both Navy veterans, and they were both on the flight together. But unless the wife is a veteran, she will not be joining us. Yeah.
Should she be a guardian?
I'm sorry?
The wife be a guardian? Fair way?
Yeah, we do have family guardians, yeah. We do have family guardians. This last trip, we had a young man whose father-in-law was one of the veterans. And he was there, but as it turns out, he was with his father-in-law about a third of the time. He was pushing wheelchairs and whatever, but there are allowances for family guardians. But that's generally if the veteran really needs almost 24/7 type care. Several other questions. Yes, sir.
What was the 4 months?
We go, the question was, what are the months of the trips? We generally go in April and May, and then again in September and October. So we were there last week. We're going May 8, 9, and 10. And then we won't go again until the first week in September, and I think the second week in October. And part of that, summertime in Washington DC is not pleasant, nor is wintertime. It really isn't pleasant any of the time.
How far out do you notify a veteran that he's gonna go on a flight? When can you start planning to go?
You'll get a call if you've applied. The question is about when you apply and do you get 2 days notice or do you get 2 months notice? We try to let the veterans know with as much lead time as we can. It's hardly ever going to be less than about a month. I know that the May flight was pretty much, we had the roster filled out before we left on the April flight. I know that Rob Keith and Kramer are working on the September and October flights right now. So if you've applied and if your name has come up on the list, you'll probably get a call easily a month out. If we've had medical emergencies, family emergencies, that sort of thing, where a veteran has to drop out on 2 days notice or a week notice or something like that. But that's pretty rare. Happens about every other trip that we have something like that.
Yes, how do you get your funding for these trips?
That's a good question, and I'm really appreciative of you asking that. Our funding is all from donations. We're blessed. We have some good corporate sponsors. I would urge you all to shop at Ace Hardware, particularly in the northern part of the state, to fly Southwest Airlines and to stay at the Doubletree Hiltons when you are traveling. But Channel 9 has been a wonderful supporter. And in fact, last October, Claudia Garofalo, who is the hostess of a morning daytime TV program I think at 10 o'clock on 9 News, she and her videographer, Adam Evans, went with us on the trip. They were there the whole time. They acted as guardians. But we always do a telethon down at Channel 9, and we always need volunteers. This year, it looks like we're going to be doing the telethon probably in August. We don't have a firm date yet. The telethon starts at 5 in the morning, goes till 7 at night, and we'd like to have our volunteers come for 2 or 3 hours if they can, if you can stay all day, or if you can only stay for an hour. But it'll be a telethon. Channel 9 does a lot of PSAs during the course of that day, and those telethons, the first time I went down there for the telethon, I'm thinking, oh, God, how could it get any worse? And about the third call I got was, Danny, is that you? I said, yeah, who is this? This is your cousin Robin. I just saw you on TV. And I called. They really are fun. And when you get to talk to, especially kids, grandkids who had a dad or a granddad that fought in World War II or in Korea or Vietnam. And you can tell little old ladies calling and saying, all I can give you is $500. Is that okay? Or the next one might say, I can only give you $10. But each donation is gratefully accepted. We are a 501c3, and we are totally funded by donations. We have no paid staff at all. And as I said earlier, the guardians pay our own way.
Can you accept Southwest Air Miles as a donation?
I'm sorry, we can't. Terry's nodding his head, and no, we can't. I'm sorry.
I can elaborate on that a little bit. We obtained ourselves a Southwest Airlines credit card, a Visa card, thinking that the miles we accumulate through the use of that card, and we use the hell out of it, would pay for some trips for us. Comes to find out, Southwest doesn't allow us to use our miles for group travel. So here we sit with almost 1 million miles in the bank and can't use them. So for that reason, it does us no good for someone to donate miles to us. On top of that, there's a substantial cost to the donor for donating those miles. So it really isn't worth it. They got us in between a rock and a hard place, and I don't know what we're gonna do with it, but we just keep spending our money the way we do. So I hope that answers your question.
How many of the vets that have gone have seen yourself come up on the photos? Yeah. This is Drew Dix from Pueblo. And if you notice his collar, he's a Medal of Honor recipient, lives outside of Pueblo. Our trip last October, he walked in DIA airport about 6:15 in the morning and dressed just like he is and with an athletic sock. He said, Danny, I think I got this out of the clean laundry, but it might have been the dirty, I can't remember, but help me out. And he handed me, this is full of challenge coins. And Drew had driven 2.5 hours to DIA to be there at 6 o'clock in the morning. And he shook the hand of every veteran, every guardian, every TSA agent, the Denver cops, the Southwest Airlines folks, just to say, I hope you guys have a safe trip. And it's such an honor to be here with you. And we obviously Medal of Honor, you all know about the Medal of Honor, and he's one of the fortunate ones that received his and has lived to tell about it, and he's very generous with his time, and it was an honor to meet him and to have him there. And for him, I think he gave a challenge coin to every one of the veterans and guardians that day, as well as the TSA folks. Rick?
Yeah, if you're lucky enough to get on the flight, if you're lucky enough to get on the flight, do we just meet over at the airport? Or, I mean, is there a meeting place or?
Yeah, the question was about how the flight actually works. For every flight, on the Thursday prior to the flight leaving, we'll have a pre-flight luncheon. We have done it in the past here, right in this very dining room. The last several have been down at the United Methodist Church down on South University and Highlands Ranch. And the veterans are all very strongly encouraged to be there along with their wives, kids, whoever, to their point of contact. And at that luncheon, which is again paid for by the honor flight, there's no cost to the veteran or his guests, but we go through the program, the agenda, what will happen next week on the flight, and we tell you what to bring, and essentially you can pack really lightly. I always pack with what I'm wearing, plus several pair of underwear and several pair of clean socks, and that's it. Because you don't need anything else, and we all start stinking the same on Friday and Saturday, so why bother? And but you get all the details about what time to be at the gate, where to be, the return. We have to get medical information in case there's a medical emergency, that sort of thing. And then that's on Thursday. The luncheon lasts about 2.5 hours. And then the following Thursday, we generally, about 6 o'clock, or we actually, last week, the flight was a little bit later, so I don't think we asked the veterans to be there till 7 o'clock, but around 6 or 7 in the morning, gather at door 617, which is on the east side of the departure area on DIA. With your small bag, we'll give you a ditty bag with your red shirt like Bill has on here, and ask you to change into it right there on the spot. And we'll tag up all your, we'll give you a name badge, kind of very similar to this. He's got one right here. And you kind of get acquainted with your teams. We break up the 30 veterans into 6 teams: red, white, blue, green, black, and gold. 5 veterans on a team, and we always have a lead guardian and a couple of other guardians on that team. That's primarily to keep track of your luggage, and you don't need anything more really than a small carry-on with a shaving kit and change of underwear, truly. And we meet about, as I say, 6 or 7 o'clock. We'll gather up the Denver police. This time, last week, the TSA probably had, 25 agents, I suppose, plus their honor guard in their black and white uniforms with the flags, marched us all the way down through. Security is, you got to have a driver's license and a boarding pass that have the same name on it. They did have a drug sniffing dog that was kind of hanging out part of the time, but that is security at DIA. We go down, get on our private train out to the terminal, out to the C concourse, and try to get all together so that we're in a group and people can recognize that we're just not a stray veteran walking through, but a group of veterans, honored heroes. And we go and sit down at the gate for anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour. Again, we're first on the plane, last off, and we've got it organized. Not a problem. The short-term parking. My wife sometimes drops me off at the airport. Sometimes she'll actually park in the short-term parking and come in with me for a few minutes. And when we return on Saturday, we always come back around any time from 6:30 to 8 o'clock on Saturday night, again, depending on the airplane schedule. And we try, again, hold everybody in the jetway, take our private train back over to the arrival concourse, and family, friends are always encouraged to be there at their arrival. You've seen photos go by, the Elgibel Pipe Band, the Shriners, are always out there. They have not missed a flight in almost 18 years now. The Knights Templars are normally there with an arch of steel. The Vietnam vets are there. The motorcycle, I'm losing the name of the group, but the Vietnam motorcycle guys are always there. The Battle and Betties, who are a group of ladies that dress up in kind of 1940s USO dress, are always there. The Young Marines are there. When we came back the other day, it was a lacrosse team from, was it a high school or the Air Academy? I've forgotten. But it's all very structured, organized. And sometimes the guardians almost seem like drill sergeants because they're telling you, be here, be there, and what time, and keep looking at your watch, pal. You only got 2 more minutes. But we also try to be sensitive to the fact that we're all old guys and we need to know where the head is. And we take care of that. What else? Yes, sir, back in the back.
I was just wondering, did I hear you right when you said that Silver Star recipients can be buried in Arlington?
Yes. Anybody can now.
No, not anymore. Silver Star is authorized.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question at all.
Requirements for Arlington burial.
Requirement for Arlington burial.
Didn't they say that Arlington was open to all soldiers now?
No. Oh, about burials at Arlington. I think Silver Star, if you are Medal of Honor or Silver Star, you're entitled. If you go to Arlington National Cemetery, you'll see some guidelines in there. It's not like Fort Logan, where you just have to have a DD 214, for instance, and mainly because they're running out of space. And if you see the pictures of the Air Force Memorial, the 3 spires going up into the air, that represent contrails, there's a lot of bare dirt around that. That's because they're expanding Arlington out simply because they've run out of room. Yeah, but I think Silver Star Award recipients and Medal of Honor recipients, as well as a couple of other conditions, and I'm sorry, I don't know what they are. You go to Arlington National Cemetery and it is very clear. There's a page on there that tells you what the requirements are.
I got a couple of attaboys for this group, for the honors flight. You know, the main thing is if you haven't gone, you gotta go. You just gotta go. And in support of what Danny said, you're talking about a guy wanting to buy a beer or something. And they stop you there. If they catch you, they want to buy your beer. They want to buy you a cup of coffee. They don't want you to spend any money. And I'm not sure whose pocket that comes out of, if it's the individual guardian or
Terry.
or the honors flight or
Terry is the guy.
Terry. Thank you, Terry. All I got out of you was a cup of coffee, but it was nice. It was nice. The other thing I had asked a high school friend. I had made a comment several months ago to a high school friend, and he was on the trip. He met Bill, but I just wanted to read you. I questioned him, how did he enjoy it? He said, Jim, I had a wonderful time. I was overcome several times by the way we were greeted and thanked. I enjoyed meeting Bill and many others. Everything went off with military precision. So I'm just here to, congratulate them and encourage you to make sure you get your name in. It's a trip of a lifetime, really.
Just by a show of hands, how many people have been on the honor flight? Yeah. So quite a few, probably a third or more. Yeah. I say Lance back there, he was on last week's flight and, yeah.
As I walk over here, I got a couple of questions.
Yeah.
Should any member here or any former participant want to serve as a guardian? What are the qualifications? And when you're talking about bearing the expense, what are we talking about in terms of just general numbers?
Yeah.
So yeah, we do take guardians, but we want them to be able-bodied. Obviously, you're pushing around wheelchairs, you're lugging luggage. So we usually have a cutoff of 70 years old or younger to be guardians. You guys in this room have earned your way on this trip, so do it, and do it for free, and be a veteran. You can help us in other ways. We have lots of other volunteer roles. That isn't to say that people like Danny can't occasionally push a wheelchair, but we generally disallow you after 70 years old for being a new guardian. Some of us will be grandfathered in, or great-grandfathered in, as the case may be. But we do limit it on guardians. So guardians pay their own way. They pay $500 per trip. That covers the flight and maybe the hotel. Doesn't cover food, doesn't cover those expenses. And what Dad was saying here was, if a guardian is buying your beer, the guardian is buying your beer. It's not the Rocky Mountain Honor Flight. He's our treasurer, so he's really clear about that. Did that answer the questions? Okay.
Just a side note on that. Several years ago, I was looking into being a guardian, and unfortunately I'm past 70, but I did have the opportunity to pick up a veteran and drive him out to the airport, which is a really gratifying experience in itself. He's a World War II veteran, just missed Pearl Harbor and things of that sort. So there's those kinds of opportunities, I guess, support things for we old timers, that we're saying. Okay.
And
over here.
And there's going to be a really great opportunity to volunteer when we get the firm date for the telethon, the Channel 9 telethon, which again, probably August sometime.
Okay, we got three over here.
Yes, sir. Just to answer your question, to be buried in Arlington, you need a Medal of Honor, Distinguished Service Cross, Navy Cross, Air Force Cross, Distinguished Service Medal, Silver Star, or Purple Heart.
Thank you.
Got a question on websites. Do you put out a website so those who are unable to go can see the pics and the sites and monuments and so on?
Yeah, I kind of am the default IT guy as well. We try to set up a shared Google photo album for each trip. And we'll have a QR code on the bus or on a business card we'll give everybody on the trip so that they can join that shared album. So it allows you to see everybody's pictures as well as put your own in there to that album. You can upload your pictures. So I think, I don't know, Danny, we're probably up to 700 pictures from last week.
Yeah,
I mean, it
I
happens
believe
really
that's right.
quick.
Yeah.
So we usually do that every trip. So there'll be an opportunity to share photos.
I work for the National Park Service, and I was fortunate enough to have a lot of projects in DC, including the White House. Wouldn't want it now, but that's just my opinion. But I just want to say that I've been to many of those places, and I might have some resources for you guys. I don't know anybody at the Park Service anymore, but it's a wonderful experience. More later with the board.
Other questions? Comments? I'm gonna go to my computer and try to bring up that QR code that Andy emailed me a little while ago. I also will share that with Doug so that it will be in next month's newsletter that you'll all receive. But very simply stated, just go to RockyMountainHonorFlight.org, all one word, RockyMountainHonorFlight.org. And there'll be two buttons, one is a guardian, one is a veteran. And fill out the application, get it in. It's critical that you get it in as quickly as you can because, again, we have to prioritize by date of application and unless there are other extenuating circumstances.
Well, Danny, thank you for an absolutely outstanding presentation. Thank you, other board members as well. We can see why this is truly, truly long overdue. And I guess the point that comes across to me in terms of what the participants who've been on the honor flights that are here today, for some of us, it might be tough going back there, but I think I've not heard anybody who's not been thankful for the opportunity, enjoyed the opportunity. And in addition to the angst some people may experience, I think it's so aspirational in terms of acknowledging the service, the sacrifice of all the veterans. And the important point is, I know too many here are self-effacing, but everybody here who hasn't gone back there deserves to go. So take advantage of the opportunity.
And let me say what an honor it is to be here this morning, and what I bless you. I am blessed. I appreciate the opportunity to spread the word about the Rocky Mountain Honor Flight. It is such a wonderful organization, and I can't emphasize enough how important it is. And it's rewarding for me to be able to share that with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Danny.
One last comment there. Out back here. I know a lot of you guys think I was there, I didn't do much. A lot of you guys went because you had to, not because you wanted to. A lot of you guys, I've met a lot of veterans who sat at a desk in Omaha who think they don't deserve this trip. And I just want to say, every one of you wrote a blank check. You were willing to do your part, whatever you did, and every one of you deserves it. So do get on there and sign up, please.
Okay, thank you.